He's good.
Check, 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 check. All right.
All right. We're live. That happened quickly. Hopefully we sound okay. Episode 14, Best Coast Sports Connection. I'm your host, Andy Bishop. Found a couple homers here at the bar to join me, Brian and Thomas. Thanks for adding to the mix, guys. How we doing?
I've been accused of much worse than being a homer.
You got
Doing
caught
great, man.
Checking your phone.
I know. Well, man, I want to get the feed up since we're going live, be able to get interactive with the Facebook comments. But yeah, we came in hot today.
Yeah, I accidentally pressed go live a little too quickly. I think it probably still says episode 13, but it's episode 14 anyways.
Episode 13 continued.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Eternally continuing. All right, guys, what a week to witness some sports, huh? The NBA is back.
Yep.
MLB World Series and NFL as always. I think like this week and next week, probably the best sports weeks. We've been saying this is a sports month, but I love this time.
Yeah. What an exciting weekend. That Astros-Yankees series was so cool. I mean, seeing Washington go to the World Series for the first time was really cool, really exciting. There wasn't a ton of drama in that series. They handily spanked St. Louis, which I didn't see coming, but I'm happy about it. And then having the Astros go back home and walk it off. First of all, DJ LeMahieu, that guy is a total stud. So Colorado, sorry you lost him, but he's the kind of guy who going to New York, you never know what that's going to be like, leaving the friendly confines of Coors Field. But DJ LeMahieu coming up with a huge home run in Yankee history to tie that game up, and then Jose Altuve walking it off of Aroldis Chapman, one of the biggest guys and hardest throwers in the league against the smallest guy in baseball. That was poetic, and I loved everything about it. That was awesome.
I love that too. I never mind seeing the Yankees lose, especially in dramatic fashion.
Yep.
So that leads us into last night's game one of the World Series, Astros-Nats. I watched pretty much the whole thing, and that was definitely worth my while.
Yeah.
As we were talking off air, I love Max Scherzer, one of the most intense guys in sports in general. Goes hard, a lot of workhorse at bats and innings, and goes 5 innings. Gets some help from a young man that we like watching, Juan Soto, on the offensive end.
Oh my gosh!
But Houston keeping it close. This is a series you could probably see going 7.
Yeah,
at least based off last night.
Yeah, because Washington won last night, I can see it going 7. I still think the Astros are going to win, but I've been thinking that the entire time, and I didn't think Washington would win any of their series. Even though we said they were going to beat the Dodgers, that was more like a homer thing than actually believing it. We talked ourselves into that one. But going on the road to Houston, where they've been so good, and beating Cole, who hadn't lost since May, I thought that stat was crazy. 19 wins without a loss since May. That is totally insane. So to go in there, and one thing that I didn't really realize going into the playoffs was how good Washington's offense has been.
Yeah.
Coming in as a wild card, and obviously they had to make up a ton of room in the National League starting 19 and 31, but their offense has been right at the top of the NL in almost every single major category. I knew they had an awesome pitching staff, but I didn't know how deep that lineup was, and again, they came through in a big way against the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, I love Ryan Zimmerman, now first baseman for them, coming up clutch with a solo home run. You love seeing a guy like that who's been with the team for so long come up clutch, especially on this big stage. All right, I got to turn over to our producer, Thomas. What are you seeing with this World Series right now?
Tonight I think it's a pivotal game for the Nationals, because if Strasburg can kind of outduel Verlander, then they go back to Washington and they go up against Greinke, who has not been particularly fared well in the playoffs this year. Is it shocking to say they could be up 3-0 on the Astros if they can win tonight and then Friday's game? It's a really weird story, and again, it's that adage of like, don't throw out the records. It's whoever is the hottest team towards the end of the season, but give the Nationals credit, because I think it was around Memorial Day they were 19 and 31, and they played the best baseball since that point in the season. So this hasn't just been like sleepwalking through the regular season and waking up in September. This team has been good for a while, and I don't. Sometimes I don't have words to describe what they're doing. It's just pretty amazing to watch, and you just kind of shake your head. I mean, Cole to me is by far the best pitcher this season. And
Yeah.
they hit him pretty good last night, and I don't want to hear anything about a hangover from the Yankee series because that doesn't play at this level.
No, especially
this team is good.
not for a team that was built to win the World Series.
Yep.
Yeah, they've been everybody's favorite the entire time. You see that type of deal when it's a team like Washington, who most people didn't predict to be here. So you'd think that they would maybe be the ones who were just content with getting to the big series, but that's not the case with Houston. They it's World Series or bust for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun to watch. So much intriguing pitching matchups and a lot of talented offense on there. So I'm going to be glued to the TV watching pretty much all these games.
Yeah, who you got tonight?
Well, I think Houston's going to bounce back. Like I said, this is going 6 or 7 in my opinion. I originally, of course, picked the Dodgers to win the World Series. So
we haven't let you forget about that.
The Nationals
either, so,
are my
yeah.
replacement for them. So
Nice.
I'm going to stick with, or not stick with, but now predict the Nationals in 6.
You're following that side
Yeah,
of the bracket.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm in
My
the
tournament
loser.
champion
I'm in the
log
bottom
last year, so I'm
losers
yeah.
bracket.
We're going consolation round right
Yeah.
into it. Strasburg has been so good in these playoffs. I think, especially after Cole losing last night, Strasburg has arguably been the best pitcher of the playoffs so far. So I think Washington has a great opportunity here. Houston came roaring back last night. I still thought Houston was going to win that game last night. But Doolittle came in, got the outs he needed at the end, and I thought Patrick Corbin had a really nice appearance out of the bullpen, a guy who had been a starter all season long, and then he's kind of morphed into a starter/reliever in the playoffs. So I thought he, going from what they had in Scherzer to then him coming in, a little bit different look. I thought that was really well played by the Nationals management, and yeah, they just seem like they could actually do it, which I didn't really see. So it's exciting.
I have a question for you guys. If Strasburg continues this pace of pitching dominant in the playoffs,
Yeah.
obviously he's going to opt out of his contract with the Nationals to get
Oh, yeah.
more money. Who becomes a hotter commodity right now on the open market? Is it Garrett Cole, who everybody says was the best pitcher overall for the season, or this late rush by Steven Strasburg? I really can't tell you who's going to be a hotter commodity on the open market.
I got to go with Cole on this one. I mean, I obviously love Strasburg with his days here at San Diego State, but Cole, just especially with this last season, showed how he is a clear-cut number one. Strasburg is, in that conversation. I see him obviously here with the Nats being more of a number 2 guy, but I mean, you really can't go wrong with either of them. But I got to go. Cole is a little bit higher on the spectrum.
So why not just get both of them?
Right.
We've been talking about this with the Padres. We need a top of the rotation starter, and clearly money is no longer an object in San Diego. So let's just grab both of them.
Yep.
Have Cole, Strasburg be our 1-2, and then
Paddock and
round
number
it out
3.
with Paddock. Throw Gore in there somewhere. And hey, I like it.
Have a nice little $400 million payroll
Yeah.
with
Hey.
between 3 guys.
You may have seen the numbers. They showed the salaries for the top 3 pitchers for both these World Series teams.
Yep.
And the combined yearly salary for the 3 pitchers is like between 75 and 80 million.
Well, and it's so strange too, because these are the teams that paid for pitching, and everybody thinks that's kind of crazy. They
Yeah.
think that pitching is now like an ancient philosophy. Now bullpen games and all that kind of stuff. You just got to have 13 good pitchers, not like 2 dominant starters or 3 dominant starters. So they're this is one of those throwback series where you got these marquee pitching matchups, and we haven't seen it for a long time. So maybe this will force the rest of the league to start reinvesting into starting pitching, which over the last 3-4 years has kind of been up for discussion on whether you actually need starting pitching.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I think we can tell the analytic guys to slow it down, man. You're overthinking it. It's
Yep.
really all about starting pitching. I agree with you.
Well, speaking of Strasburg and being with his new team in 2020 with the Padres, a little bit of news as the search continues for our manager here with the Pods. Mark Loretta talking to the Padres today, former Padre. Was the bench coach for the Cubs recently. Been in the Padres front office. We talked about him in previous weeks. I think I like him more than the guys with Rangers ties, Ron Washington and Jace Tingler. But That's just me.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before on here, but there's I feel like this sense of loyalty to Mark Loretta because I loved him so much as a player. He was just a hit machine, a couple years, over 200 hits, playing a solid second base for the Padres. Always a great guy in the community. He's a St. Francis High School grad up in La Cañada. That's where my dad went to school.
Nice.
Golden Knights got to give them a little bit of love. So I like everything about Mark Loretta, and I know him. He's a familiar name, familiar face. He's clearly been groomed to be a major league manager. So I would love it. I'd be super excited. I'd be excited about Ron Washington. I don't know the first thing about Jace Tingler, so I don't have much to get excited about there, but I'm all about it. Thomas sent us that text this morning. I'd seen a tweet about it earlier too, and my eyes lit up because it seemed like it was kind of coming down to a two-man race between Tingler and Washington. But hey, baby, Mark Loretta, don't sleep on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
it
at all.
sounded like it came out of nowhere. I guess he got alerted that he wasn't going to get the Cubs job, so I'm assuming Ron Fowler was probably set up that meeting, and I hope he gets it too. I mean, that's the type of guy I want managing, and it's not about familiarity. It's just I think Mark Loretta, when he played here, showed that he's a smart baseball player, and I think that's going to convey well in the dugout. And quite frankly, I'm more inclined to wait for him to become a manager than Jace Tingler, simply because I don't know Jace Tingler.
Yeah.
I know nothing about him.
Me too. The unfamiliarity pieces.
Yeah.
And how about David Ross going to the Cubs?
I was just gonna say.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, great personality.
Yeah.
Longtime veteran with the game of baseball, and so you love to see a guy like that get an opportunity, especially with the team with which he played for so many years. Yeah.
And he helped them he was instrumental in them winning that World Series.
Yeah.
And at the time, everyone's like, oh, David Ross is the best. He would be such a good manager. Like, he's definitely going to be a manager at some point. So to see him be the guy to succeed Joe Madden, I think that'll be really cool for the North Siders in Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking about Loretta. Do you think they're going to any urgency to hire a manager? Not this is a huge deal, but before the unveiling of the new uniforms? What do you think about that?
Well, so I guess the reason that there seems to be this sense of urgency to hire your manager is because there's so many openings right now. Like 8 teams were looking for new managers as of a week ago. And last year, I don't think the first new manager was hired until mid-November. So the fact that now we've already got 2 managers with landing spots, and Joe Madden going to the Angels, and now David Ross is coming out going to the Cubs, I think that's kind of the only reason that there's the sense of urgency. I'd like them to wait to announce the manager, or at least have the press conference until after the uniforms, because what are you going to parade that guy out in, I don't know.
Yeah,
Throw him in
that's
the Friday Browns, but
Exactly.
that would be anticlimactic. Wouldn't it be cool if they waited to unveil the manager until he walks out in the uniform on November 9th?
Right.
And he's the guy who walks out, and boom, you see, and it's
Instead
Jace
of
Tingler, and we're like,
Fernando
no
You're
Manny
really
Machado.
obsessed with this manager, with this uniform thing, aren't you?
Yeah, heck yeah, man. I am obsessed with uniform designs and obsessed with the Padres bringing back the brown. And yeah, it goes beyond just like a little simple fascination. It is a complete obsession. So
Absolutely.
I don't deny that.
Any other thoughts on MLB, Thomas?
Just the other managerial positions. You don't hear a whole lot of scuttlebutt with some of the teams. Like the Mets seem like they're going to go with somebody that like Eduardo Perez seems like he's the hot candidate right now. Phillies are looking at Girardi, but like I don't know, like the Pittsburgh Pirates. I haven't heard anything about the Pittsburgh
Never even heard that
Pirates.
name. Yeah.
And it's the first time where you usually hear like the laundry list for some of these managerial guys. They could go either here or to this team if not the first one. So I'm kind of intrigued in that. I want to see like who are the other candidates being talked about, and quite frankly, I'm a quiet obsession about this uniform too, because it's funny because I've been quietly looking on people that on Facebook they've been trying to sell like Padre Brown from yesteryear their gear, and I'm all like, oh, that would look cool, I could wear that.
Yeah.
You get really obsessed with like, oh my god. Then I go, 15 minutes turns into an hour of
You go down
uniform
the
shopping.
the Padres rabbit hole of uniform design. Yep.
So I guess I'm really looking forward to the official start of the off season where we get hot stove and managerial moves,
Yep.
and uniform changes, and all the above.
All the fun.
Absolutely. 5 months of an off season before opening day here in late March. So it's gonna seem like it's a long time, but it'll
Yeah.
get here soon enough.
Yeah, it'll fly.
We're here at McGregor's as we are every week, episode 14 of the Best Coast Sports Connection. Let's transition over to basketball, which has
Yeah.
just started in the NBA. Brian rocking his LA Lakers.
Yep. Tough
shirt.
loss last night.
Fun matchup
one
to
game.
watch, though. The battle for LA. That may be the battle for the Western Conference, right? We posted that on Twitter. So, what was your takeaway from that game?
A couple takeaways. One, the Clippers are very deep. That team looks scary, and they look already, I know it's early and they didn't even have Paul George last night, but they look like a team that's primed for a NBA title type of run. Kawhi Leonard is just a complete beast. That guy, you just kind of, watching a game, you can kind of forget how good of a basketball player he is, but he just does everything well. He rebounds well, he shoots well, he's super under control with the basketball, passes well. Just every single thing he does at a elite level. So super proud to watch him. I just wish he was wearing the other LA uniform instead of the Clippers. They're going to be a tough out. And then for the Lakers, playing without Kyle Kuzma, I thought they battled really well. They've got probably the most depth at big man in the league. And a guy like Danny Green, that type of acquisition, who is finally a pure shooter, which they haven't had in a handful of years. And in the NBA, you need someone like that who can hit the three ball. I think he's going to be a huge difference maker for the Lakers. And I really do think these two teams will be battling for top spots in the West all year.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, I want a few more weeks to really see how the Western Conference is going to play out.
Yep.
But, yeah, you said it. These two teams definitely at top four, in my opinion, in the Western Conference. I can be confident in saying that.
Yep.
But, yeah, you could definitely see both going on a title run.
How about this? There's a chance the Warriors aren't even a playoff team. With no Klay Thompson, obviously KD's gone, Iguodala's gone. Role players like a Quinn Cook, who's been really solid for them, gone. Right now, it's the Steph Curry and D'Angelo Russell show. With Draymond Green, obviously don't want to discount him, but could you see a scenario where the Warriors are on the outside looking in?
I could see that. I mean, I think Kerr just said Klay Thompson isn't coming back anytime soon, so maybe not even this
season. He's going to be out
season.
for the whole season, yeah.
So I still think they're good enough to make the playoffs, but it would be like a 6, 7, 8 seed.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's within the realm of possibility that they don't make it.
Yeah, I think they're going to make a trade if they don't like the mix that they see. I think it's really weird in the NBA. I always track it between 20 and 30 games. I think these ownership groups kind of see what they have, and if they don't like the mix, and they kind of just get the dartboard and start throwing out, see who they want. And I couldn't believe Kerr said that yesterday. That Klay, because all the talk was that Thompson was going to return after the All-Star break, and I was just shocked that he said, "Nah, he's probably not going to play at all this year."
I was surprised when they initially said he'd be back, February-ish.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, well, this really seems like an aggressive treatment plan, but maybe he's just trying to temper expectations. Maybe there's a chance he could come back, and Kerr's just making a smart public play.
Yeah.
Because it already worked for me. I immediately they're not a playoff team. They're the 9th best team in the West now.
But this was the same mistake that they made with Durant, saying that he was going to come back. Always that anticipation that it was going to be the next game. And sometimes you just got to be realistic that give these guys a time to really overcome their injuries. I mean, I'm not that's a slippery slope telling them that they were trying to push Durant back on the court, but I think it was some added pressure that this is for the championship. You have to get out there for us. And, to me, is like finally it sounds like Kerr was like the true, the reason of truth.
The voice of reason,
yeah. The voice of reason. You're like, hey, we're not going to, this guy isn't going to come back this year. At least not until probably towards the playoffs.
Great stuff. What do you guys think about the Rockets? You think they're going to going to be up there at the top of the West
I
with
think
Harden and Westbrook?
Yeah, from a talent perspective, they've got plenty of it. We've talked about this before, like how's it going to work with only one basketball and those guys? They did it before a handful of years ago, but that was a way different dynamic. Now, clearly, James Harden is one of the best players with the ball in the entire league, and he needs the ball, but that's the same type of player that Russ has been. So I don't know. I still think they have so much talent that they're going to win a lot of games and still be in the hunt for things, but I don't know. I don't know that they have the championship roster that they've had in years past. And you see a player like a Patrick Beverley who was so good on their good teams, and now last night he's just a pest. And he's such a good player. He makes the right play all the time. I hate that he's on the Clippers. But, yeah, I don't know. The Rockets will be one of the most interesting teams this year for me, just to see how that plays. Because purely talent perspective, really good team.
Yeah.
How it's going to play on the court, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I agree, but it's going to be a fun season to watch, and it started off with a bang last night with the Battle of LA.
Yeah, that game felt like way bigger than normally an NBA opening night. Because like Thomas said, you wait 20, 30 games. A lot of people make the joke that the NBA doesn't start till Christmas. But, yeah, that game last night just had a different feel for an early season game.
Yeah, that was one of the better opening night games I think I've seen in a long time. I mean, both teams were prepared to play that game.
Monday Night Football wishes they could have a matchup like that.
Gosh. ESPN on Monday Night Football on ESPN, just bad matchup after bad matchup.
They must have made somebody mad at the league office or something.
My goodness.
Why are they this week
We've seen the Jets twice. We've seen the Browns twice.
Now they get Miami this week on the road at
Pittsburgh
with Duck playing quarterback, third string quarterback. Unbelievable.
Man,
sorry.
Let's talk a little NFL. I guess we'll start with the Chargers. I just keep chuckling at these guys.
Oh my God.
And we are back.
Wait, here we go.
We're back from a technical difficulty. I think we average about 0.8 technical difficulties per episode.
And we realize what the problem is.
Exactly. So, especially this week, as I started talking about the hated Chargers.
We're off again.
The technology immediately boots us off the internet.
And here's that word. They're like, don't say Chargers.
They don't want negative news. They don't want positive news. No news for the Chargers.
Use pig Latin with the Chargers.
It's like the opposite of a safe word.
Yeah.
It's like the self-destruct word. They're like, ooh, Chargers, off air.
So you probably heard about it or maybe watched it, that the Chargers completely choked. It just prototypical Chargers performance.
Yep.
Should have won, could have won, but they lost.
They had to go out of their way to lose that
one.
game. It was, you get the ball down at the, like you said, 6-inch line and have all these opportunities. Then after their false start, which was such a Charger move too, then they get a PI in the end zone. They get another first down right at the goal line, and in 3 plays could not score. It was just the most Charger way to lose, and I was there for it. I was freaking out, and man, I was so excited. I couldn't believe it though.
I know.
Melvin
Gordon, your workhorse,
sad,
fumbles,
man. Yeah.
right, to give it away. Oh my golly!
I was watching the Ravens Seahawks game, and the announcer was like, "You won't believe this," and I was like, "Oh, this has to be about the Chargers."
Yeah.
He goes, "The Chargers lost a game with three touchdown attempts from the 1 yard line in," and I was like, "Yep, that's my team."
And it was so painful because every single they called touchdowns, and then they'd have to go review it. And the broadcasters were saying that the smart play for the officials is to call it a touchdown because it immediately gets reviewed.
Yeah.
So they were just calling everything a touchdown
Yeah.
and then going back and reviewing it. It was taking 5 to 7 minutes every single review. So you're just sitting there oh my God, they're going to lose. And then Tennessee started taking their timeouts because at that point they knew that the Chargers are for sure going to score, and they just wanted some time left. And somehow they didn't. Oh gosh, it was so good.
Tennessee historically has been the Chargers albatross. Remember, Sean Marion, I remember, got hurt in Tennessee when that offensive lineman gave him that cheap shot block. And then last year in London with almost losing the big lead on a 2-point conversion, and then this year they finally prevailed over the Chargers. So if they can't see the Titans for at least 2 or 3 years, I think the Spanos family will be very happy.
Yeah, I still, root a little bit in my heart for some of the players just because, they played for us here in San Diego. I feel so bad for Phillip Rivers and moving. I mean, just being in the Chargers organization as a whole, but especially moving to LA, it's like the latter part of his career has been ruined. But, he's a free agent, so he might go elsewhere. Or
he might go to Tennessee.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Man.
So I also love Austin Eckler because he's just fun to watch, and I have him on my fantasy team.
I was going to say, there's got to be a fantasy implication here. Yep.
And even with the return of Melvin Gordon, he continues to produce. Of course, Melvin Gordon held out, wanted elite money. What do you think he's going to get this offseason? He hasn't really got going this year.
I think he's going to get less money than he was scheduled to get this year without holding out and sitting out games. It's like the exact opposite of what happened with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell sat out the entire season and got paid. Melvin Gordon sat out for a few weeks, realized the team was just fine without him, which Le'Veon Bell saw too. James Conner was really good for the Steelers last year. It was like they didn't miss Bell at all. But then Gordon came back and gave the team back all the leverage. And now as a free agent, he's not going to get the huge money he thought he was going to get. It played exactly the opposite for him, and I feel bad for the guy. It's not going to go well, especially that fumbling there at the end. Wow, he's not making a good case.
And he admitted in an interview the other day where he just said, "I'll never sit out again ever in my life," and this was just a complete disaster. Failure.
Yep.
And he's just one of those type of backs. I think he needs training camp to kind of get himself prepared to play a season. He can't just walk in and get the job done. So somebody tried to tell me that it was his fault, but I'm all like, okay, granted, he might have gotten bad advice and went with it, but the Chargers didn't handle this very well either. I mean,
they ever?
Yeah,
they
right.
Well, that's what my point was. Is like they never handled these type of situations well. I think if they went to him in let's say late February, early March after the Super Bowl and said, you know what, we're not interested in signing you because of these reasons. Just quietly tell us where would you like to play, in next season and for your future. I think they could have traded him and gotten something worth for him. But now it's just like it's ridiculous. They can't even trade him if they wanted to because he has no value.
Yeah, I think he turned down about $10 million this year, I want to say, was the Chargers' offer. And then, he's maybe 28 going into the free agency. He's probably not going to get more than a 2 or 3 year deal.
Nope.
And definitely not that $10 million mark. So, yeah, you feel for the guy a little bit.
Andy, you wrote a piece saying that they're no longer our problem.
Right.
Is it a liberating feeling? Is it a upset still? Like what? After seeing a performance like that and having seen it so many times and knowing that it really isn't our problem and now we can kind of celebrate those things, how does that feel?
It's like half empowering,
Yep,
half deflating, which doesn't really make sense.
No, but it makes perfect sense.
Like,
I know exactly
you
what
love
you're
it
saying.
so much because
Yeah,
you hate the business move that Dean Spanos made to take them to LA, but you love seeing them fail.
Yeah,
right? It's
totally.
like you screwed us, now screw you.
Yep.
But you're also, you're deflated because you put so much of your heart into this franchise, and you still have some ties to the players. So it's like you're deflated by the business move of it all. I think is my biggest point.
Well, assuming they do stay in LA for the foreseeable future or ever, for our lifetimes, once all the players that we recognize, and like right now, the list is dwindling down.
Yeah.
It's almost the list of one with Phillip Rivers. There's a couple other players who still have the strong San Diego ties, but once those guys are gone, then is the artery completely severed? Like, what does it take to be completely broken away from it? And
yeah, I think as Rivers, may leave there. They moved to the big stadium and I think they just continue to become more irrelevant, both to us and I think the nation as a whole. You know, they don't have a fan base. You know, if they don't put a good product on the field and they don't make the playoffs, then I think, you know, most NFL fans kind of tune them out. So that's kind of how I'll be too. I mean, I'll probably have one of them on my fantasy team every year, you know, or whatever. But yeah, I think, I don't know. They're pretty much done, but I don't know.
Eventually, I may have a Charger on my fantasy team. I just haven't done it yet because I can't. I don't want any reason to have to root for him. And there's never been anyone who's good enough to necessitate that. Obviously, like an Austin Eckler or Keenan Allen are solid players, but there's other solid players like that. If there was a Christian McCaffrey type player on the Chargers and I had the number 2 pick, I would totally take him, you know. But it hasn't happened, so I haven't had to worry about it. But okay, all right, I'm good.
One thing that Andy brought up that I'm thinking about, and I still have a hard time fathoming, is you said Phillip Rivers could be leaving there via free agency. Who would be harder to see in another uniform, Phillip Rivers or Tom Brady? Because, you know, Adam Schefter of ESPN reported during their pregame show that Brady put his house up for sale, and he could be possibly, you know, moving on from the Patriots, which I just
not
sat there
happening.
like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see him retiring, and I just don't see him leaving the Patriots anytime soon.
It's interesting. I don't think there's any chance Tom Brady plays anywhere other than New England or with Bill Belichick for his entire career. He's not going anywhere. But I want to see Phillip Rivers in a different uniform because I so badly want to root for him. Like, that was the only part that sucked about it for me on Sunday, was knowing that Phillip had to go through that again. He does everything to put his team in position to win. The organization is just like, despite the organization, he has been a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. And I want him to be a Titan, a Bronco, a Jaguar, a Bear, anything. And I will be so into that team for the years that he is there. I'll get a shirt. I'll wear it here. I want to see that. So it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't be weird or anything. If it had been the San Diego Chargers and he left, I would be so crushed. It would be like watching Tony Gwynn in another jersey. I don't think I could handle it. But since they did that to us, I want him to play somewhere else and have success and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing. I want him to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think it's the best chances are with him being on the Chargers. Just because, you know, he's likely, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, he'll be in the category of Dan Marino, right? One of the best quarterbacks ever, but, you know, he doesn't have the ring. He's put up Hall of Fame numbers, as you've said. I think I actually looked up the top quarterbacks in passing yardage career-wise. And Rivers, Roethlisberger, and Eli Manning are 6, 7, 8.
Wow.
So
that's kind of fitting.
Right?
Those guys kind of were all linked together, even in that draft, as possible trade options.
So those other two guys, you know, they'll be Hall of Famers, and I think whether Rivers wins the Super Bowl or not, he should be in the Hall of Fame. But I think a Super Bowl would solidify his career.
Yeah, no doubt.
You think because Rivers is such a nice guy, do you think we'll ever get his true feelings on the Spanos family, on how they handled
not on
everything?
the family? I think once he's no longer with the organization, once he's retired, he'll just talk about how maybe he'll be honest about how he didn't think it was the right move, and that you know, he's true to San Diego, all that stuff. Still lives here. He's never said a bad thing about San Diego. He's never tried to force people into coming and being a fan of the team or begged them, kind of like LaDainian did. So he's never done anything to slap San Diego in the face. I think he'll come out and be honest about he thought it was the wrong move once he's out of the organization. But he can't say anything right now. He's still the quarterback of that team.
Yeah, he's been the consummate professional all throughout his career. So even if he does move on, I think he'll be pretty tempered in any comments towards the team or the owners. Man, talking about this just impresses me more.
I know.
But it's such good conversation because there's so many storylines with it, you know? And it's just a story that never dies.
Yeah, and I really liked how you summed it up, saying, like, you know, half of you was pleased and half of you was crushed. Like, there is, and it doesn't make any sense, but that's totally how it feels. It's a weird situation, and unless you talk about it or hear other people talk about it, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel that too, or wow, he articulated that nicely. It's important. We're basically like the Best Coast therapy session right now. We're all going through it together. We got an amen in the Facebook comments from Shauna Bill.
Oh,
I think she
Shauna.
was talking about Phillip Rivers going and winning a Super Bowl somewhere else. So
There you
amen
go.
to that. And happy birthday, Shauna. Sorry
Yes.
you're under the weather and didn't get to go to Disneyland today. But we're thinking about you. And she was part of our inaugural studio audience
Yes,
that
absolutely.
day. So she'll hold a piece of BCSC history.
One of the original hecklers.
That's right.
The Vilvin hecklers.
That's right, from the cheap seats.
All right, guys. What a fun time as always doing it
Yep.
here at McGregor's. Any final comments for episode 14?
Just can't wait to watch another World Series game
Yeah.
tonight. We'll have to do some crosstalk
yeah,
because
absolutely.
the World Series will probably be over by the time we get back together here, and we've got to have some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So excited about the World Series. Really, nothing jumps out to me for the NFL season this week. Everybody survived the Survivor
right.
League,
We didn't even touch on
including
that.
Tomas. So we'll still
Barely.
be pulling for Thomas and some of the Vilvin clan out there that's still alive. And who you got this week, Thomas? Who are you going to take?
Right now, I'm
Such
leaning
ugly
towards
matchups, man.
Vikings.
Okay.
But my second choice is the Steelers over the Dolphins. But after talking to you before we went on here about their offense, I was like, maybe that's not such a great choice.
Well, so you're talking about a Thursday night potential
Yeah.
game and a Monday night potential game. All those Sunday games are just, man, the one you would think about the Rams over the Bengals, but that one's in London, so
Yeah.
you never know what that's going to look like. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a brutal week. I think, honestly, the best game is Oakland at Houston in terms of like a marquee matchup.
Mhm.
Because Green Bay at Kansas City on Sunday night, which looked like it was going to be a great one. Now Green Bay, or, Kansas City without Mahomes, and yeah, it's just a kind of a dud week on the NFL schedule. So that's why we got the World Series and the NBA starting. So we got plenty to keep us busy.
And this will be the last week where all four major sports will be playing at the same time. So that's always kind of cool.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. One final question for you guys. I saw this posted on the internet somewhere. Of course, the Niners and Patriots undefeated.
Yep.
Dolphins and Bengals, right? Or no?
Yep. Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
two
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
won. What's more likely, one of those teams not winning or one of the previous teams I mentioned going undefeated?
The 49ers are not going undefeated. They had to play through. They played in a riverbed on Sunday and beating the Redskins, but I don't think they're going undefeated. No chance. The Patriots, honestly, might be able to. They got to play Kansas City in like week 15 or something, so Mahomes will likely be back for that. I think undefeated's so much harder than winless. I think the Dolphins could probably pull it off. I don't know about the Bengals. The Bengals have a couple of explosive players and a capable quarterback where I think they could potentially win a game or two, but I'm going to go with the most likely of those four scenarios is the Dolphins at 0-16. They'd be the only franchise to go undefeated and winless.
Oh,
Well,
And I'd like to see them round it out.
The cool thing is I think the Bengals traveled to Miami late in the year.
Yeah, it's
so
like
that
week-
could be
Oh,
the
really?
battle.
I
Oh
think
my
it's like
God.
week 16.
It would be so good
right?
if it was week 17. Oh, my gosh. In the battle to win this
And it
bowl,
would
and both
end in a
teams
tie.
just sit
That should be
Indian
the
style
primetime
for the
game.
entire game. Neither one plays, and they tie so that they didn't go winless. I mean, they'd still go winless, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the old winner
It should
win-win
be fitting
situation,
that-
win or lose.
The game should end on an overrule of a defensive pass interference.
Oh, God,
call.
that would be
the
so
first
awesome.
of the year.
One of the teams is going to score a touchdown and then have to go for two.
They both slide in like before they go in the end zone.
Oh, God.
Thomas, do you see one of those teams going winless or the Patriots going undefeated? What's the likelier option?
Boy, yeah, I think it's Miami. I just think that there's just too much talent with Cincinnati, and the only way Cincinnati goes if they trade AJ Green before the deadline, which I think is next week. If they trade him, then they're pretty much raising the flags and saying see you later. And they might even bench Andy Dalton by that point. So if they do that, then they're done.
Marvin Lewis ain't looking so bad now,
Right?
huh?
He's got a better job with Arizona State.
I know, right?
I
Who
don't
you got,
see
AB?
either of those things happening just because the Patriots go through a really tough stretch from like week 9 to 13 where they play like the Cowboys, Ravens, Chiefs, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. And I think the the Dolphins are good enough to get one win this year. I don't know why or how, but they've stayed close in a handful of games, right? So I think somehow, some way, they or the Bengals win a game. But I think of the likelier options, I guess I'll go Patriots just because they've been dominant so far this year.
Their defense is so
Yeah, right?
ridiculous. They're giving up 7 points a game.
Yeah.
And they have the number one scoring offense in the league and the number one scoring defense right now of all time through this period. So, yeah, they look pretty unstoppable, man.
Love it, guys. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Best Coast Sports Connection. Got some crosstalk hopefully coming in the next few days. Catch us on all your favorite social media outlets. Bye for now.